Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Operation Loremaster. This week we'll be doing something a little different. Instead of addressing a specific topic in lore, we'll be addressing pretty much the entire timeline of Azeroth condensed into a 10 or 15 minute video. To begin, we need to address that Blizzard considers the opening of the Dark Portal to be the major event by which we split their timeline for Azeroth. So much like we refer to anything before the birth of Christ as BC, we refer to events that happen on Azeroth before the opening of the Dark Portal as BDP, which is sadly a large chunk of time compared to the history after the opening. While some of the older information in the history of Azeroth is speculated or hotly contested, I will only be using information found from in-game books, the written novels, and the WoW Insider's articles published by Bronzebeard. Please note that the map on the left shows generalized borders for kingdoms and influences of races. Please don't overanalyze their exact lines. It's just a general representation of where most of these races can be found at a specific point in time. Sometime before 147,000 years before the Dark Portal, the Titans begin shaping the universe and are betrayed by Sagarius when he becomes the leader of the Burning Legion. Roughly 147,000 years before the Dark Portal, the Titans find Azeroth and discover it infested by 4 old gods and their elemental lords. It is often contested as to what came first, the old gods or the Titans to Azeroth. But in the game book, The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth, it is clearly spelled out that the old gods were on Azeroth before the Titans arrived. The Emerald Dream also likely exists at this point in time, or is at least created by the Titans. Between 147,000 and 65,000 years before the Dark Portal, the Titans waged war on the old gods and cast them into prisons, as well as cast down the 4 elemental lords. During this time, the stone dwarves and the mechanical gnomes were created to help with the reforming of Azeroth. Likely during this time as well, the old gods gave the curse of the flesh to the earthen dwarves and the mechanical gnomes that will slowly convert them into modern dwarves and gnomes. Likely, sometime during this period, the Sithlid were created by the old gods. Between 65,000 and 64,001 year before the Dark Portal, the Tauren and the Trolls appear on Azeroth. This was recently confirmed by Bronzebeard after he spent time in Northrend working with the Tribunal of Ages. 64,001 year before the Dark Portal, a sect of the Troll Empire discovers the Well of Eternity, as well as other night-worshipping sub-creatures. The dragonflights are charged with protecting Azeroth in the Titans' absence. This is the latest time that the Emerald Dream can begin to exist, because without it, Ysera would have no charge to protect. It is also at this time that the Titans leave Azeroth. 14,000 years before the Dark Portal, the first Night Elves form out of the portion of the Troll Empire that discovered the Well of Eternity. This is another one of those debated parts of Azeroth history, but Bronzebeard has confirmed that the Night Elves are descended from portions of the Trolls, likely the Forest Trolls. And no matter how much Night Elf players may dislike this theory, it has been proven sound. Additionally, at this time, the Azutha, who may have become the Vakrul, discover the Well of Eternity. 13,500 years before the Dark Portal, the Kaldori begin practicing the arcane magic, and the Highborne sect of Night Elf society is formed. Between 13,500 and 10,000 years before the Dark Portal, the Vakrul abandon their weaker children who will become the human race. 10,000 years before the Dark Portal, Queen Azshara opens a portal to the Burning Legion and the War of the Ancients begins. 9,999 years before the Dark Portal, the War of the Ancients end. The Well of Eternity is destroyed, the Demon Soul or Dragon Soul is created, and the continent of Kalimdor begins to sunder. Illidan creates a small new Well of Eternity in Hyjal. 9,998 years before the Dark Portal, Elune creates the Scythe of Elune and gives it to Vlinde Starsong, which draws the Worgen to Azeroth. 9,000 years before the Dark Portal, Alistraza plants the World Tree to grow over the new Well of Eternity in Hyjal, and the continent of Kalimdor is completely sundered into Kalimdor, the Eastern Kingdoms, Northrend, and several smaller islands. The first Druids also discover the Emerald Dream at this time. 7,000 300 years before the Dark Portal. The High Elves begin living in exile in the northern eastern kingdoms. The female Night Elves form the Sentinels and begin their long vigil while Malfurion and his druids sleep. 6,800 years before the Dark Portal. The High Elves begin to found Quel'Thalas. 4,000 years before the Dark Portal. The building of Quel'Thalas is complete. Between 4,000 and 2,800 years before the Dark Portal, Lordaeron is built, and likely Dalaran. 2,800 years before the Dark Portal, the High Elves and the humans of Lordaeron fight back the Forest Trolls during the Troll Wars. 2,700 years before the Dark Portal, the First Council of Trisfal meets. 2,500 years before the Dark Portal, the Dwarves of Ironforge make contact with the humans. 1,200 years before the Dark Portal, all 7 kingdoms of the humans have been formed. 10,000 years before the Dark Portal, the War of the Shifting Sands. The Sithilid are pushed back as far as Sithilis, and Staghelm's son dies. 818 years before the Dark Portal, Egwene goes to Northrend, defeats an illusion of Sigerius, and has a portion of Sigerius' spirit unwillingly placed in her body. 230 years before the Dark Portal, the Dark Iron Dwarves, the Ironforge Dwarves, and the Wildhammer clan go to war. 170 years before the Dark Portal, the Ironforge Dwarves meet the Gnomes, and Gnomaragon is built. 45 years before the Dark Portal, Egwene gives birth to Medivh. The Dark Portal is opened by Medivh. 1 year after the Dark Portal, the First War begins and Stormwind falls. 4 years after the Dark Portal, the First War ends. 5 years after the Dark Portal, the Alliance of Humans names Lordaeron as their new seat. 6 years after the Dark Portal, the Second War begins. 7 years after the Dark Portal, the Alliance invades Draenor. Ner'zhul becomes the Lich King and is cast into Northrend. 8 years after the Dark Portal, the Battle of Grim Batol. This is likely when Deathling fled to the Outlands and began to create the Twilight Flight. 18 years after the Dark Portal, Thrall is first taken a slave in Durnhold. The Arachnid clans of Northrend go to war. Kethalzad is turned into a Lich by the Lich King, and the first Scourge appear in the Eastern Kingdoms. 20 years after the Dark Portal, the Human Alliance splinters, and Greymane closes Gilneas off from the rest of the world. 23 years after the Dark Portal, Thrall escapes Durnhold. 25 years after the Dark Portal, the Scourge descend on Lordaeron. Arthas is corrupted. Arthas marches north and destroys the Sunwell to revive Kethalzad, and creates the Banshee Queen Sylvanas along the way. Archimonde returns to Azeroth and the Battle of Hyjal begins. The new Horde is formed by Thrall. 26 years after the Dark Portal, the Blood Elves are formed. Sylvanas turns on Arthas, takes Lordaeron for herself, and forms the Forsaken. Arthas flees to Northrend to merge with the Lich King, defeating Illidan along the way. 28 years after the Dark Portal, Illidan flees through the Dark Portal with some of the Naga and some of the Blood Elves. The colonization of Kalimdor begins from the Horde. 30 years after the Dark Portal, World of Warcraft begins. Blackwing Lair falls, Ragnaros is defeated, Haikar is defeated in Zul'Grub, the gates of Ahn'Qiraj are reopened, Chthon is defeated, and Naxxramas appears over Stratholme. 32 years after the Dark Portal, the Siege of the Outlands begins. The Draenei come to Azeroth, Illidan is killed, Zul'Jin is killed, Kel'Thas is killed twice, Kil'jaeden is repelled back to the Twisting Nether. Let me make sure that this is clear, so no one flips tables when they see him in the Burning Legion expansion. KJ is not dead. His summoning was interrupted during the Battle of the Sunwell. 34 years after the Dark Portal, War against the Scourge. Malygos dies. The Battle of the Wrathgate occurs. The Battle of the Undercity occurs. Yogg-Saron is defeated. Arthas dies. Bolvar Fordragon becomes the new Lich King. The Gnomes retake Gnome Aragon. The Trolls reclaim the Echo Isles. The Gilnean Civil War begins, and the Emerald Dream is likely cleansed. 39 years after the Dark Portal. Deathwing returns from the Outlands and generally wrecks house. The Forsaken invade Gilneas. The first Gilnean Worgens learn to control their rage. The battle for Mount Hyjal occurs, and Ragnaros is repelled. Vashir appears, and Neptunian is captured. The invasion of the Firelands begins, and Ragnaros is defeated. The Zandalari tribe reunite with the jungle and forest tribes. The Hour of the Twilight occurs. Deathwing dies, and the Age of Mortals begins. Well, that concludes our brief history of Azeroth. I hope you've enjoyed the time you spent watching this video. Please understand that I was not able to hit every event that happens during the Age of Azeroth. If you think I missed something important, I understand. Please leave it in the comments, but please also remember, I have to fit this entire video into a 15-minute video. If you're looking for a good community of World of Warcraft players, please consider visiting the Reddit subreddit /WoW. If you're looking to do transmorph runs or runs of old raids, please look at the Reddit subreddit /LookingForGroup. I'll list those in the comments. I run a weekly raid we call the Reddit Raids, where we cycle through all of the old content and try to get our drakes as well as interesting gear. Until next week, this has been Operation Loremaster.